Hello, friends. I'm Chris. I'm with Transformation Nation Yoga and Wellness. And thank you for tuning in for our Winning at Aging free public wellness talk. This talk was originally held and recorded on October 30th, 2021, and it will be up in some form, and from my perspective, in perpetuity or until the best available information that I have related to this topic changes. If you have questions, if this talk lands for you, if there's something about this you'd like to learn more about, or if you'd like to find out how our 12-month Ayurvedic health coaching program, Next Level Human, can help you to turn back or at least slow down the aging clock, reach out to me. You can email me at chris@transformationnationyogaandwellness.com. You can reach out to me through social media on Instagram. You can find me at Chris Bishop Yoga and at Transformation Nation Yoga. And through Facebook, you can find me under Chris Bishop, but we're a dime a dozen. There's a lot of Chris Bishops. You might be better served to look up Transformation Nation Yoga and Wellness and contact me there. So we'll get started with the talk here in just a moment. So glad you're here, friends.
Oh,
So
me too, me too.
all friends here today, but because this is going to be recorded, and if for as long as it continues to have value, I'll have this up on my Vimeo channel. Just for the folks that may view this later, I'm going to introduce myself. I'm Chris Bishop, and I own a company called Transformation Nation Yoga and Wellness. So the foundation of the company is in yoga health coaching. So we guide people to thrive through helping them automate the habits of the ancient yogis. So it's 10 pretty simple things that when we're in isolation are really difficult for us to automate on our own. So we help guide people along that process, and we supplement that with high quality yoga, meditation, and breath work. So one of the things that I'm doing through Transformation Nation is giving these usually a couple times a month. At least that's been the pattern so far since we started these free wellness talks. And I put a survey out to my crew, and I said, hey, these are some topics that I'm thinking about giving talks on, but what are you interested in? What do you want to hear about? This will help me set priorities. And overwhelmingly, the number one topic that I heard back from people was aging gracefully. Which I turned 49 this past summer. That's a topic that's very much on my mind. So I get that. So, but before we go into the talk, I thought it might be useful to define that. So if you would type in the comments, could be one thing, it could be multiple things, but what does aging gracefully look like to you? Or maybe what does it feel like to you? Yes, staying energetic, having a high level or a predictable level of energy. Flexible joints, Louise, absolutely. Finding true peace, yes. Mental clarity, good. What else? The people that you know who have aged gracefully, what are some of the things that you saw in those people? Yeah, so their eyes having maintaining good eyesight, maintaining good hearing, sprightly energy, and a sharp mind throughout the lifespan. Yes, finding a deeper purpose in life, knowing what our dharma, our deep purpose is, and then leaning into that and living it. I worked for USDA Forest Service for about 7 years, and one of those gigs, I spent 4 years in northern New Hampshire, and I managed a couple of U.S. Forest Service visitor centers. And I went to this fitness center in Gorham, New Hampshire, almost every day. And there was this guy there who was in his late 70s, early 80s, and he had a physique that his physique looked like he could have been 35. He was pretty amazing. And what he did in this fitness center, it constantly blew my mind. And he used to say, I'm paraphrasing, so I may not get it 100% right, but he used to say something like, I'm not going to live forever, but I'm going to be the best looking corpse in the cemetery, which I thought was really clever and endearing. But I also thought it was a testament to the fact that he was making a concerted effort to take care of himself. Luis says aging gracefully is sharing wisdom and experience with others. I love that. And being peaceful and finding peace, being peaceful and content. Awesome. Yeah, completely agree, friends. So let me share some slides here. And let me tell you what I have in mind for our time together. I expect this talk will go at least 40 minutes. By the time the top of the hour, I will cut this off. We will not go longer than 5 p.m. here Central Time, and that'll be no later than 9 a.m. for Louise in Australia. All right, so what I have in mind for today, we're gonna identify and challenge some common assumptions about aging. I'm going to offer you 2 empowering metaphors related to the aging process. I'm going to provide you with at least 1 and maybe 2 actionable tools that you can begin to implement today. And we'll give you a pathway and an approach to adding some other things in that you're going to be in a way that you're going to be able to sustain and live with. We'll open up for a question and answer session. And then I'm going to close with just a few minutes to introduce you to Next Level Human, which is a 12-month Ayurvedic or yoga health coaching program. So this a lot. I feel like aging is one of those topics about which there are many, many assumptions, right? So what are some assumptions that you think about when it comes to aging? These may be assumptions that you yourself hold, or they may be some assumptions that other people hold. And just to be clear, these assumptions could be really powerful, empowering, or they could be really disempowering. There's still assumptions. What comes to mind for you? Louise says degeneration of body, mind, and senses. Yeah, that's right. Jim says have to slow down. And boo, I agree. That's a boo. What else? Assumptions that you have or that people that you know have about the aging process. We get wiser. Yes. Yeah, wrinkles. Experience. Awesome, you guys. Harder to run for the bus. I love the way that you guys are leaning into what we would typically think if we were going to add value to these. Some of these we would not necessarily view as positive. Some of them are fairly neutral. I think wrinkles are fairly neutral, but also looking for the beauty that comes with the aging process. Things like wisdom and experience. More time to experience the nuances of life. Yes, I love that. Time to smell the roses. What else? What are your assumptions or the assumptions of other people you know about the aging process? Teaching from our experiences, Susan, I love that. Sorry, I wasn't laughing at that. Louise said her daughter would say boomer humor. I think I know what that means. Like I used to try to be funny because it feels so good to amuse people. And then at some point I realized I'm not really funny, I'm quirky. So if you like quirky, then I'm hilarious. But me trying to be funny, it usually doesn't work that way. But I do love those dad jokes. All right, well, those are amazing assumptions, friends. Um, yes, they're not funny to millennials and younger. I guess as long as they're funny to us, it's beautiful. So some of this came from Luis, yeah, that's right. Eccentricity, it is a great thing. And I remember being quirky as a kid in the 80s when quirky wasn't considered cool. And now we live in a world where quirky is considered pretty cool, which I love. So the first time that I gave this talk, this is where most of these came from. What people said is sense organ decline, right? So we don't necessarily see as well, or we don't necessarily hear as well, or we need more assistance. So we need cataract surgery, we need bifocal glasses. I use reading glasses myself, and maybe we need hearing aids. Another assumption is it's inevitable. It's genetic. So I'm going to come back to a couple of these that we tend, as we age, to lose mobility, to gain weight, to experience a reduction in bone density and muscle strength, to experience poor digestion. Yeah, Louise says heart issues and strokes. Absolutely. Lower energy. Sleep quality declines. We can no longer count on having a predictable and reliable night of sleep. Memory loss and pain. Pain is inevitable. So these are some of the things that the first group came up with. And I agree that these are really common assumptions about the aging process, right? One of these, what are your thoughts? Are any of these or all of these objectively accurate from your perspective? And you could put that in the chat box if you would. Losing teeth? So one of these that I think is uh, objectively accurate, that aging to a degree is inevitable. There are things that are biological fact that happen. Like we enter from an Ayurvedic perspective. Yeah, Jim can relate to some of these. I can as well. Susan says accurate for some, but can be mitigated, right? And I think that's exactly right. There's a degree of inevitability, right? That time and gravity, in the end, they're going to catch up with us all. But I also think that there are many, many things that we can do to mitigate those things. So the genetic piece, this is Louise say play a fairly big role. We all know that the guy who smoked and drank and lived till 90. Yeah, that's exactly right. So here's the thing about genetics, and I mentioned that I would offer at least two empowering metaphors, and this is one. Genetics are a reality that we have to look at, and there is a reason why when we go to a doctor's appointment, our doctor asks us about family history, right? So I got 23andMe genetic testing, and I just recently reinvested, and they used the same genetic material of mine that they have maintained on file, and they did a health report for me. So this is not my metaphor. This is both the metaphors I'm going to offer from Dr. Oz. He and a partner wrote this book called You Aging Well. And one of the metaphors is that genetics are the gun, right? And the gun is loaded. That's a fact, that's real. But the epigenetics, the way that the genes express themselves, that we have a lot of control over. So it's thought that the aging process and some of what we would think of as depreciative things about the aging process, about 25% of those things are inevitable. But that means 75% we can exercise a wide range of control over whether or not those genes express themselves. So when I looked at my 23andMe medical report, there was one surprise, right? There wasn't a lot on there, frankly, but there was one surprise, and that was that I have genetic markers for fibromyalgia, which wasn't even on my radar. I don't know anyone in my family that's had that, but knowing that is helpful. But here are the ones that weren't a surprise. Genetic markers for heart disease, high blood pressure, and genetic markers for diabetes. So many of even my living family members are on high blood pressure medication. My brother's 5 years younger than me, has been on high blood pressure medication since his late 20s. My parents are both on high blood pressure medication. My grandfather was diabetic. My mother is pre-diabetic. I take a blood sugar reading every morning, and they're often higher than I would like, in spite of trying to do as much as I can. Most of the time, 80% of the time, trying to make good habits and good decisions a part of my regular life. Now, on the inevitability, this is where our second, what I think of as an empowering metaphor comes through. And this again comes from Dr. Oz. So Dr. Oz and his partner described the human body as a city, right? And if you think about the city, the citizens are working, they're living in the city, they're using the roads. There's going to be wear and tear. So there's going to be some breakdowns. But where we have a lot of control is on making repairs. So in the metaphor of the city has a whole maintenance department that's devoted to preventive maintenance. So catching little things when they're small and preventing them from becoming big problems. Or most large municipalities have some kind of a capital improvements program, and when there's some kind of a big ticket item in that city that needs to be repaired, so the city's a nice place for people to live, it's a healthy place for the residents that live there, so it looks attractive for all of those things. That capital improvement program can do that. And that might be like my total hip replacement that I had in 2020 might be an example of the capital improvement program. Brushing and flossing my teeth every morning and flossing again before I go to bed at night, those might be examples of more of the preventive maintenance. So to me, those were really empowering metaphors, knowing with the genetics, yes, there's a gun and the gun is loaded, but the trigger doesn't have to be pulled. I'm going to have a lot of control over whether or not that trigger is pulled. And knowing that the city is going to have things that break down over time, but by and large, we can exercise a lot of influence and care over those things. Right. So one way that I could have approached this talk, and I thought about it, is we could have talked about lifestyle and all these things that we can do for brain health, for heart health, for mental health, for sexual health. We could have done that, right? And I think there would have been some subtle differences in each of those things if we'd approached it that way. But there were also, when I started looking at it, there were really common factors. And so by and large, if we're interested in health, wellness, and lifestyle practices for a healthy heart, they're not light years away from the kind of practices that we would do to have healthy lungs. They're not light years away from the practices we would have to maintain a healthy brain, which are not light years away from, like, for men, maintaining vitality and avoiding like some of the problems that come up over time, erectile dysfunction and things like that. There are a lot of really common ground here. So we're going to focus on those. So I come down to 6 pillars that I think of for helping us to defy time and gravity. And of these 6 pillars, 5 of these I talked about when I was a state park superintendent for years. Twice a year at the staff meeting, we would talk about these. And the things that I talked about with folks, and we'll talk about each of these things a little bit more, what they mean to you, what they mean to me, but exercise vigorously, eat healthfully, get enough sleep, manage stress effectively, create sacred time and space for the people, practices, and places that are most important, that are sacred to us. And I've since added another one to the list, and that is reducing chronic systemic inflammation. So let's look at this exercise vigorously. So when you think of exercise vigorously, how do you understand exercise vigorously? What does that mean to you? You can put that in the chat box if you would. Work up a sweat and get breathless. Yes. Yeah, I love that, Louise. Get the heart rate up. Absolutely. Put constructive stress on the heart and the organs. Any other thoughts on exercise vigorously? Yep, contract the muscles for power. Yes. Yeah, weight bearing exercise. It's really, Louise's thought really ties in with Susan's. Like anytime that we're putting additional weight on the body, we're helping to build and develop bone density. Jim, move daily. Yes. Louise, exercise all regions of the body. Yes, have a holistic fitness program. Okay, awesome, you guys. So what it means to me when I think about exercise vigorously, like Jim said, have something daily. I think Louise said, increase heart rate. I heard this from Susan, increase strength. Louise, add force, low pressure on the skeletal system. And my teacher, my Ayurveda and business mentor, Kate Stillman, she breaks fitness activities into 3 categories. She calls them hardening, softening, and cardio. And for us to be healthy and whole, under the best case scenario, if we have to have a mixture of these things. So Louise says, I do a mixture of practices. 3 times a week, I do a 15-minute cardio and weights practice. The other day, I do Pilates and yoga. Yes, exactly. Awesome. So when I say hardening activities when it comes to fitness, what comes to mind for you? What do you think of? Yep, resistance training, which could include yoga. Yeah, certain styles of yoga for sure can be hardening. resistance, bands, weights, even body weight. I do, yeah. I hear from Louise and Jim, they also added weights, kettlebells. I do a set of pull-ups every morning, circuit training. Louise says like a CrossFit type training, amazing. Um, if we jump ahead to cardio, running, like distance running, endurance running, is definitely a cardio activity that has a very hardening effect on certain parts of the bodies too. If you think about the hamstrings. All right, so if I say softening, what kind of practices would you consider to be softening in the context of a fitness program? Yeah, a rebounder. Yeah, rebounder. I've heard great things about in terms of both cardio um, and also for pelvic floor health. Louise says stretching. Susan, yin, static stretching. Louise, Pilates. Yes, absolutely, exactly right. In cardio is anything that we do that will get the heart rate up. So it could be running, could be cycling, could be cardio boxing or kickboxing. So the second pillar is eat healthfully. So when I say eat healthfully, how do you yeah, Susan says dancing. I took Latin dance lessons for about 18 months, got my heart rate up, had an amazing time, challenged my mind. I think dancing's an amazing fitness discipline. So when I say eat healthfully, what does that look like for you? Or what comes to mind for you? Yeah, lots of greens and whole foods. Jim says portion control. That's absolutely right. Locally sourced, if preferably. Yeah, no sugar candy, no processed meat, intermittent fasting. I love all of those. And Louise says don't overeat. So I thought of this with both Louise's contribution and with Jim's. I read this Michael Pollan quote: "Eat food, not too much, mostly plants." I think that's really amazing advice. Now, two things that I'll touch on. Susan mentioned intermittent fasting, which is a pretty advanced healthful eating practice. Louise said no snacking. I would say the same thing. I would say that's pretty advanced too, and I think they're absolutely right. So part of this is to establish a predictable rhythm that allows time for digestion and true hunger sensation. So Susan says eat to 80% of fullness. So what I've heard from an Ayurvedic standpoint is have the food when we stop eating, a third full of food, a third full of water, a third full of air. So it's got plenty of space to digest. Jim says eat slowly and enjoy it. I absolutely agree. One of my Ayurvedic teachers in my 300-hour, my advanced yoga teacher training used to say that it's like mindset. Like when you said enjoy it, Jim, I thought about mindset. She used to say it's healthier to eat a Whopper with gratitude than a kale salad with a bitchy attitude. I think that's exactly right. Be aware that you're eating as a way of stuffing emotion, right? So, like one of the bullets that I put down there, this was Susan's comment and contribution. Use food mostly for nutrition, right? A lot of times when we're eating, we're using food for purposes other than nutrition. And as far as I know, this is universal. Everyone that I know does this. Um, Brene Brown, our PhD social worker out of University of Houston, she's a shame researcher and is known worldwide for her work in helping people to learn to live with and manage their difficult emotions. She calls this numbing, like when we're eating for something to start to eat our emotions or we're eating for any other purpose. She says what conscious people do when they're numbing is they do it intentionally. They know that they're numbing in the moment. They know why, and there's an end point in mind. So that they're gonna circle back and stop that. So I heard from both Louise and Susan to be mindful, do one thing at a time. When you're eating, just eat. And Jim really tied in with this too, with the piece about enjoying eating. Yeah, it's amazing, friends. All right. So when I say get enough sleep, what is it? What do you think of for get enough sleep? What does that mean to you? Yep, waking, feeling rested and alert. Love that, Louise. get some hours of sleep in before midnight? Absolutely. So some of you know this already. We've had conversations about this. Sleep is one of the challenges. Is one of the challenges for me. I had jobs for years, for almost 20 years, where I was on call. I would get calls late hours. I worked nights, weekends, and holidays. My central nervous system was completely fried, and I didn't sleep well for years. So I've been really working hard on some habits for this. Um, Louise says getting enough sleep looks like sleeping through, not waking up. Um, she's an insomniac from way back. My sister from another mister, but things are much better when she gets to bed early. I agree. Susan says good sleep hygiene, making a ritual for winding down. No phones. Get a good bed. I completely agree. One of the things at the nights that I don't sleep well have in common is I didn't have an exit ramp from the busyness of my day. I just went off the ramp of the busyness and tried to go into sleep, and then was somehow surprised when I spent much of the night awake. A nice entry ramp might be coming to the peak of the day and then tapering down with an evening walk, with a bath, with some time for a loved one. Yeah, I love this. Sleep is incredible for our immune system function. It's our time for restoration. You guys have touched on this, but we want both sufficient quantity, but quality also means a lot. And our sleep is also a really important way for us to process the previous day's experience, both what we put into our bellies, but also what we put in through our eyes and ears. Yeah, Louise mentioned relaxation is important for rest. So again, that exit ramp from the busyness of our day into our sleep, a great time to relax. And it's great for emotional balance. Louise says she's a monster when she's exhausted. I feel the same way. I get really crabby. When I say manage stress effectively, how do you understand manage stress effectively, or what does this mean to you, or how would you do it? Ooh, Susan says she writes down what may be worrying her. She can remind herself of that. So if she forgets something, she'll have the reminder tomorrow. Yeah. So what managing stress effectively looks like for Louise is swimming and surfing helps her and her hubby. I love that. Susan saying, yeah, when I'm awake in the middle of the night, my mind is running and I have trouble shutting it off. For Jim, exercise helps him. I completely agree. I read somewhere, and I forget whose quote this was, but was for a depressed but otherwise healthy person. A 5 mile walk will do as much good as all the therapy and medication in the world, and I believe that to be true. Yeah, walking in the wild, walking in the bush, Louise, I agree. Susan, I think CBD has a lot of benefits. I think we're just starting to learn about how much this can do. Yeah, Luis says getting up at sunrise. So tapping into the power of the early part of the day. Deep breathing, breath work is our, other than like intravenously as we might get through anesthesia, breath work is our quickest pathway into the autonomic nervous system. Vagal toning and laughing. Susan says grounding by walking barefoot on the lawn. I love that. Yeah, these are great, guys. So for me, part of what managing stress effectively looks like is identifying my triggers. So these could be people, places, things, or situations that I know have the potential to bring out either a really stressful um, emotional response or reaction from me. Remembering to breathe in the moment. Louise says connecting with families and friends, having reasonable expectations of ourselves, not expecting too much. Jim says talking it out. Yeah, I completely agree. If you've got with the people in your life who have earned your trust to hear your story, I think taking the time to talk things out with them is critically important. Having a sense of spirituality for many people, and that can look lots of different ways. It can look lots of different ways, but I think it can make a big difference. And I will tell you, my mindfulness meditation practice over the last 14 years has totally changed my life. And one of the ways that it's changed is the way that I relate to my experience and to stress. Yeah, I love these guys. Good stuff. Keep it coming. Luis says stress can be so self-induced. When we let ourselves off the hook of our own unreasonable expectations, we can let go of a lot of stress, letting go of perfectionism. I completely agree. We often, when it comes to stress, are our own worst enemies. So when I say creating sacred time and space, how do you understand that? in the context of holistic living. Yeah, Susan says taking naps. Giving yourself permission on a day off to get some rest and take a nap is a beautiful practice to help mitigate stress. Ooh, or Susan, you may have meant that for sacred time and space. I think it fits either one. I love it. Jim, time and nature, completely agree. And no surprise coming from the park superintendent. I love that. Thank you. For some people, it's prayer. We mentioned this under stress, but making time and space for that meditation and breath work as a habit, as an automated habit and a practice, I think is critically important. Family and friends, like Jim talked about, having people to talk through difficulties. Setting appropriate boundaries, and that could be boundaries with our jobs. It could be boundaries with our family. It could be boundaries with our friends. Susan says she loves the appropriate boundaries. We have to be discerning about who we spend time with and what we allow. Completely agree. What do they say? We're the composite of the 5 people with whom we spend the most time. Right? From a rhythm entrainment standpoint, that's absolutely correct. We tend to fall into rhythm with the people around us and vice versa. I also find, for me, having clear priorities on my soul values, knowing what's most important, helps me to guide and dictate the way that I behave and conduct myself when I'm walking through the world, and also helps me to realize where I should be spending my time and putting my focus. Yeah, Louise agrees. Some people can really drain your energy, those energy vampires. All right, and then reducing chronic systemic inflammation. So how do you understand chronic systemic inflammation? When I say that, what comes to mind for you? Creaky joints, yes. Yeah, eat more plants to reduce inflammation. I love it. I got a shirt that says eat more plants, do more yoga. I love it. So I'm learning a lot about inflammation right now. And like there's a healthy organic natural inflammation that's useful for us. But it's acute. It happens over a short period of time, and it's really helpful for healing. It's important for building muscle. It's important, like we talked about, force load pressure on our bones to increase bone density. We need a degree of inflammation for all of those things. But when the inflammation is chronic, we have it all the time, and it's systemic. It is the boogeyman. It is the common factor for all the boogeyman illnesses of our lifetimes. So the things like I don't know if you have like illnesses in your family history that keep you up at night worrying about for you. I know I do. But the common factor for obesity, coronary heart disease, cancer in Louisa's family, mine as well, high blood pressure, diabetes, Alzheimer's disease, stroke, most autoimmune disorders, the common factor in all of these things is chronic systemic inflammation. And that we have a lot of control over this. Yeah, for Louisa's hubby's family, heart disease is the thing. So that's why I consider these to be the 6 pillars. So what are common sources of chronic systemic inflammation? The CSI, as if we needed more acronyms, I created one for chronic systemic inflammation. I know that CSI is already taken, but to have it here in the context of it being chronic systemic inflammation, yes, Susan, not worrying about overloading on the over-the-counter medication. What about not overloading on over-the-counter medication? Yeah, absolutely. Think about the effect of those things on our kidneys and our liver and stuff like that. What are the causes, common sources or causes of chronic systemic inflammation? Either for you or for other people you know. Yeah, poor diet, Jim. That's right. Poor diet to me looks like lots of refined sugars, processed foods, gluten, and I would include too much food or eating at an inappropriate time are all examples of a bad diet that will increase inflammation, and if they're done consistently, will become causes of chronic systemic inflammation. Louise says health starts in the microbiome. Yeah, it's absolutely right. So the source of inflammation is in the digestive tract. So that's mouth to anus. So anytime that we have a problem that manifests mouth to anus, whether that's sores in the mouth, or we have trouble with bowel movements, or we have heartburn, all of those things are indicators that we have some inflammation. Susan, negative thinking and attitude, absolutely. Yep, stress, worry, and overthinking are all pathways to chronic systemic inflammation. Louise says toxic inputs from the environment as well as overload on our organs, absolutely. Anything else you can think of? Well, this, like, if we ended the talk right now, it would be a bummer. Because we just talked about things to avoid, but not much of what to do about it. So what do we do with all of this, right? Because depending on what our current habits are right now, this could be a really overwhelming talk, a discussion. But the good news is we have a lot of control over these things. Sometimes, like if we know that stress, worrying, and overthinking are causes of chronic systemic inflammation, then finding tools like we've already talked about, like meditation, like breath work, like movement, that help us to minimize stress, worry, and overthinking can help us find the opposite of that. So one thing in our program, in terms of habit evolution, we have lots and lots of tools, but I think of primary importance is one that's called Kaizen. So Kaizen, I won't tell you the history about it for now. As you guys all know, I'm a talker, and that could take 15 minutes. But this is a practice of taking small, incremental, but impactful steps toward habit change. So if based on the talk today, there's something that you're working on or there's something that's important to you, you could pick one or two things. And instead of saying, for example, I eat a lot of sugar and I eat late at night and I eat a lot of processed foods. I don't eat a lot of fruits and vegetables, and I'm going to make a wholesale change to my diet. Sometimes when the motivation is high, I would say roll with it and strike, baby, because that's a great time to get some really great results. But often the motivation is low and we have to plan for that. So it might be instead of trying to make a wholesale shift like that, we say, what is one small incremental step toward change? And it might be before I get up in the morning and I eat anything, I drink a quart of warm water, a room temperature water. Or it might be my last meal is usually at 10 o'clock at night. And I know that's not going to bed with a full stomach like that is contributing to my inflammation. So I'm going to start for this week, I'm going to have my last meal by no later than 9:45. And then each week I'll scale it down 15 minutes. So finding some small ways, whatever the goal is. And if you like, stay on the call afterwards. And if you want to talk about how to apply this or other habit evolution principles to the things that are important to you, let's talk through that. I don't have anything big and pressing for my evening. But the other thing is, like when we think about the cognitive parts of this, so the worry, the overthinking, the stress, we don't relax just by being told to relax, and we can't relax just by commanding ourselves to relax as well. But there are some points where we can access the autonomic nervous system really quickly, and one of those is through the breath. So I'm going to guide you through a breath practice in the Yoga Body breath toolbox. It would be considered a whiskey category breath. So this is a breath that would be appropriate in the evening, like when you're getting ready for bed. But I would also say if you're geared up and you need to bring yourself down, I would either use like a water category breath, or even early in the day, I think depending on how keyed up and how stressed out you are, a whiskey category breath might be appropriate. So this breath is called a 4-8 relaxation breath. So some of you, I know Susan has taken science of stretching classes with me. This is the breath practice that we use in that practice, because we take the poses in that practice at a really high level of sensation into the pain threshold. And in order to get our bodies to relax and really get into that stretch, we have to downregulate the autonomic nervous system. So we'll use this breath for this. So when I tell you to begin, I'll ask you to draw in an inhale through your nose for a count of 4. And then I'll ask you to exhale through your mouth for a count of 8. As you exhale through your mouth, I'd like you to make a ha sound. Now, it might not be audible, right? So that ha might be audible, or it might just be that sensation. You'll know what that feels like. So with the breath, I'd like you to find a little bit of a whisper sound. So maybe to start, bring your hands up in front of your face and then exhale into your hand as if you were fogging up a mirror with your breath. You feel that constriction at the base of your throat? Now, exhale through your nose, but maintain that same constriction. Maintain that constriction as you inhale. So that's the kind of sensation that we're going to feel, like that constriction of the whisper muscles at the base of your throat. So we're going to get started, and we're going to go through 10 rounds of this 4-8 relaxation breath. So exhale out all your breath, and then inhale through your nose for 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale through your mouth, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Remember that ha sound. Inhale nose, 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale mouth, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Good job, friends. Come back to a comfortable, natural breath. So that was a whiskey category breath to down-regulate the autonomic nervous system. So the physical results you'll get from a breath like that: decreased pulse rate, decreased blood pressure. For me, I usually feel a tangible sense of relaxation. So if you don't feel any different, that's okay. Don't manufacture something. But could you put in the chat box, did you notice any difference from that breath work? A no is okay, friends. There's no reason to manufacture something we don't feel. That doesn't help anyone. Relaxed and energized from Luis. Sense of calm. Mind feels calmer. Awesome. Yeah, those are the kind of nervous system responses I would expect from that breath work, friends. So that's one. You could do that anytime you like. If you want more coaching and cueing for it, reach out to me and I'll provide you, because you guys attended this talk, I'll provide you the free access for a guided video for this. Jim says relax as well. Awesome. That's great, guys. I'm glad that landed. So that's one of many, many practices that you could use. It's really tough when we're just told to relax and nobody tells us how to do it. All right, so I'm going to spend a few minutes talking about Next Level Human, our year-long yoga health coaching program. Before I do that, any questions, comments, or observations on anything that we talked about today on the topic of winning at aging? All right, guys, I'm going to take just a few minutes and I want to tell you about this program called Next Level Human. So this is a 12-month Ayurvedic health coaching program. So we work through Kate Stillman's Body Thrive 12-week program, and we do it 4 times. So why the same program 4 times? Our experience is that usually on the first pass through the program, at best people automate 1, 2, or 3 habits at a really superficial level. So having the opportunity to circle back and go through each of those habits and make an additional 3 passes through, we can go much deeper into the ones that we automated on the first pass. It also gives us a chance to automate some of the others. Now, I keep using that word automate. Why automate? We get into decision fatigue, and especially when we're tired, when we're stressed, and we're overwhelmed, if we have to make the decision, am I going to work out today? Am I going to scrape my tongue today? Am I going to eat fruits and primarily a plant-based diet today? If we wait until we're tired, and we haven't orchestrated and set up this as an automated habit, a lot of the times we're going to fall short, and then we'll feel bad about ourselves. But the fact is, we weren't set up for success for that. So we don't have to get up in the morning and make a decision to brush and floss our teeth. That just happens. That just happens. We've got these habits that are automated over time. We didn't know that we were automating them when we started those, but we do. So what we want is for these 10 habits of the ancient yogis, that those become automated in the same way. So in the same way, we don't have to think about brushing and flossing our teeth when we get up in the morning. We don't have to think about these habits. We've just set ourselves up so these fall in place. So again, Next Level Human is a 12-month program based on the habits of the ancient yogis. So that's the what. Let's get to the how. So we have weekly coaching meetings. So once a week, we sit down with a group. We talk about our wins from the past week. We do habit evolution principle. We talk about how we apply that. We talk about the habit that we're working on that week, and then we troubleshoot anything that might come up with that. We also do monthly one-on-one coaching calls. So members of Next Level Human program have an opportunity to get time with me one-on-one once a month, where we can troubleshoot a problem area, or we can help them streamline one of the habits to get it truly automated. They get unlimited access to Transformation Nation Yoga. So on my yoga schedule right now, there's 11 classes a week. What I've committed to is people will get at least 8 classes a week. If they can't make it at the time, and it's the same thing with the weekly coaching call meetings, all that content's recorded. They have access to it afterwards. What we want from this program is that the yoga health coaches like myself become leaders of our community, but the members of the program become leaders of their family and their community as well. So to that end, the members of these programs get 2 free, not free, they're paid for, they're part of the program, but 2 guest passes a week for yoga. Louise, thank you guys so much. Happy birthday to your hubby. You guys enjoy your green smoothie and have an amazing day today. We do monthly workshops. Members of the program will get a guest pass as well. So every other month, the workshops are yoga related. On the off months, they're more wellness related. So for example, the workshop for the month of October was Rock the Block. It was how to use a yoga block to elevate the practice. Next month, it's going to be a green smoothie workshop. So those are 2 of many examples. There'll be a monthly social event. To the social event, members get a guest pass to that as well. In habit evolution training. So one of the benefits of this program is not only do people leave this program after a year, that if they've done their part, they have many of these habits, maybe even most or all of these habits, fully automated, at least at some level in their lives. But we have these habit evolution principles that we can use and apply to our life to automate any habit, whether it's wellness related or not. People in the program have access to Kate Stillman's online Body Thrive program, and they get to become a member of a dynamic group. My teacher, Kate, calls this the power of the posse. So why is it so difficult when we try to add a new habit on our own to really have it take? Well, part of it is most of us been trained in the social science of habit evolution, but we're also trying to do things on our own. So we don't have someone that we know that we're going to be accounting to and talking to the next week, right, as we do at these meetings. Or we don't have someone when we're struggling to help pick us up, dust us off, and get us back up on our feet, or to be our cheerleader when we're on top of the world. So all of these things are outcomes of Next Level Human. And outcomes of the program. So I'm currently in the pilot program, right? So we're only 4 weeks in. So I can't provide like anecdotes of all of these. But more broadly in the Body Thrive program, what people see are reduced chronic systemic inflammation, improved quality and quantity of sleep, establishing a rhythmic eating style, moving toward an optimal body composition, living and moving powerfully, having improved quality of relationships. A lot of times we feel compression in our lives and our schedule. We have too much going on. We're too busy. More easeful living, being in rhythm with nature in terms of our circadian rhythms, in a sense of thriving rather than just surviving our lives. I will tell you that 4 weeks into our program, I've got, this is first of all, Next Level Human is not a weight loss program. It's not a weight loss program. And weight loss is a really common side effect. So I've got one member so far that's lost 7 pounds and 2 members that have lost 10 pounds. One of the ones that lost 10 pounds has to start to put new notches in her belt to have them fit. So it's not the hard sell, friends. I wanted you to know about this program if you didn't, but I am currently screening people and doing enrollments for the January 2022 cohort of Next Level Human. So our first meeting will be Monday, January 4th, 2022. So that's the program. So just to go over the promises that I made from this talk is that we would identify and challenge common assumptions about aging. I would offer 2 empowering metaphors related to the aging process. We'd provide you with at least one actionable tool that you can begin to implement today. And then with the Kaizen, an approach that you can live with. We'd have a question and answer session, and I'd give you an overview of the Next Level Human program. So hopefully you can see after the talk and the things that we talked about, this topic of aging gracefully is important to almost everyone that I know. And a lot of these things, again, the gun, there's a gun, the gun is loaded, the trigger doesn't have to be pulled. So those genes don't have to be expressed. We have lots of control over it. Friends, thank you so much for making time out of your Saturday afternoon for this. Jim, I know that you're at work and probably having a very busy day at the park. Really glad that you were here. Susan, Deepika, I'm really glad that you guys are here as well. And I know I promised this during the talk, but if there's something specific that you'd like to talk through about, one of the things that we talked about in terms of aging gracefully and the pillars of aging gracefully was this. I would love to have an automated habit for that and apply some of these habit evolution principles. I'll hang around and stay on here and talk for as long as you like. So again, friends, I'm Chris Bishop. I'm from Transformation Nation Yoga and Wellness, and thank you for joining us for our Winning at Aging Public Wellness Talk. Hope that you found some value out of this, and if there's a way that I can be of service to you, reach out to me through email or through social media. Take care.